I was reading the last chapter of that book this morning, and I'm literally crying on the couch, like, tears are running down my face, and Tyler's, like, in the refrigerator, and he's like, "What are these dragon fruits in here? Where did this come from?" And I was like, "I am trying to have a cathartic cry right now. Can you please stop talking to me?"
Why do we as readers, and especially as women, love to emotionally wreck ourselves? We'll devour a book knowing it's going to destroy us and still call it 5 stars.
This week, we are unpacking that. Why do we crave media that makes us feel sadness and what that says about us as readers? We'll share the books that emotionally devastated us in 2025 and then trade some sad girl confessionals in a game you do not want to miss. But let's start off with like the science behind why us as media darlings love to be sad. Like there has to be some like human chemical responses of why.
Yeah.
And we had a few hypotheses and they held up in the lab.
Yeah, I think my first theory on this was with humans in general, we don't know how to articulate our emotions. I feel like when you're consuming a book or a movie or you're listening to a song that is able to put the feelings in front of you in this way that you're not able to kind of explain to yourself. I feel like it's one of those things that makes you feel seen, and it's like this almost the sense of catharsis that you get out of it because of that.
100%. Ding, ding, ding. Science agrees, Cassie.
Woo! Love that.
It is a space for safe emotional processing. When we watch sad movies and we read sad books, it gives you an excuse, I guess, to like
Yeah.
cry and let all of that stuff out in a safe space because you're crying at a good emotional book. You're not crying at your life.
Right. And I feel like we all need these places to put our emotions. And I feel like when you consume something that really speaks to maybe something that you're feeling and you don't fully understand, it almost like forces the things out of the box.
My thought of why I like to read sad books and watch sad movies is like comparing like my own grief to somebody else's grief. Like making it not as bad, like, oh, I'm stressed about work. And then you read a book about like somebody losing a loved one. And you're like, okay, everything I'm feeling like is not as gigantic as I thought it was in comparison to like what these people are going through in this book.
Yeah, that is 100% backed by science. I'm going to give you 100% there. A lot of times I think we're just so wrapped up in our own heads.
Yeah.
We need some sort of forcing mechanism a lot of times. And sometimes that can be through talking to your friends, your family, whatever. But I think when you are just completely unbiased, objectively reading a story or watching a movie or listening to a song about someone else going through something that's like 4x greater than what you've ever experienced, you're like, oh,
yeah,
I can get through this. This problem isn't so crazy. And I have a great life and I should be grateful for it.
I actually was on a meeting this week after reading a sad book, and they were like, this girl isn't answering her messages. And I was like, well, I know that she has small children and maybe something is going on with them, so we should give her some grace. And they were like, wow, that is like so like reflective of you. And I was like, yeah, well, I just read a really freaking sad book this week. And so I'm able to have these self-reflections.
As it turns out, sad books make us into Gandhi.
Well, so that is like another thing that I found when looking up backed by science that I didn't expect is that sad books and movie and television make you feel like moved to a point where it like the sadness actually brings happiness because it increases your ability to be empathetic. It increases your social bonds with people because you're able to like put yourself in their shoes.
I totally agree. But I think when I'm reading about real people going through these insane challenges, it just expands my brain within like 2 seconds, where you're like, oh my God, like this world and this life can be so much bigger than I even realize.
Yeah. And, this isn't just backed by science, but this is also backed by our fellow readers and media viewers. And something I thought was really interesting was that a lot of people feel like sadness and the ability to make people like literally sob and feel sick to their stomachs is a testament to the author's writing. Because if you're able to make somebody feel such a deep emotion, it probably means they're incredibly connected to the characters. You've been able to transport them into that space that those people are mentally and physically, and you are feeling those raw emotions as if they were.
Yeah. I mean, I am just always astounded by authors' abilities to like use specific words that are so connective, you know? Like even in the book that we read this week, like there was this way that she would describe certain feelings where I was like, "Oh my god." Like I felt that exactly.
Yeah.
I just have never been able to like even articulate that to myself. And so like the fact that you can like literally just be absorbed into these words and into the page like through a really, really good author's writing is just it's unbelievable.
Or when
It's
they're
so
able
impressive.
to, like, describe, like, when it's, like, a war story and they're, like, a prisoner of war and you're like, "I, like,
Oh
actually
yeah.
can feel the grime and the starvation and, like, the cold that she's
Yeah.
describing." Like, it's always a she to me. It's always a female.
Which also I feel I was talking about this with someone recently. Like I sometimes feel like my imagination is 0. Like, it's, like, non-existent where, like,
Mm.
when I'm trying to your point, like, describe either how I'm feeling or how I put myself in the scenario very deeply and, like, empathize with myself, like, it's so challenging, but then I'll sit there and I'll read these stories to your point where, like, I can just so vividly picture them and I can feel them so deeply and I'm
Yeah.
so rooted in the spot and I'm like, how do these people have this imagination to like bring this to life in this way? It's just it's unbelievable.
Your lack of imagination did remind me, though. Do you know that there's, like, a certain subset of readers that, like, can't picture the, like, the setting of a book? Like, they need to be told, like, "Hey, this setting looks like this."
Really?
Yeah, are you like that?
No.
Yeah, and, like,
Wait,
they can't picture what a character looks like until they see fan art.
really?
Yeah,
Actually, I think I might be that reader now that I'm thinking about it.
that's what I felt when you said you have a lack of imagination.
Thank you. I do feel like I immediately when a character is described, I will automatically like place them on like a real person that I've been exposed to.
That
Like a
see?
celebrity or someone that I know or whatever. Like I'm not coming up with like a fictional character.
Yeah, right, and I, like, think that you are this person since you said you have to use, like,
I might
celebrities or
be.
whatever. When I read, like, it's almost as I'm, like, sketching the character myself. Like, I, like, make the character somebody that I think in my mind represents the feelings that they're giving off.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm much better able to picture scenes and like places and things, but people are what I struggle with. Like people is what I need
Mm,
like some sort of baseline or like starting point to be able to picture.
but it's the same thing with the emotions. I think that some people, like, need the emotions, like, described to them to, like, help them have that
Yeah.
big feeling, and you're not doing that for yourself on a day-to-day basis.
Right. That is a thing, though, specifically with fiction that I see continue to pop up on the internet where there's a lot of encouragement on the internet as well for men to read fiction specifically because
Yes.
men tend to gravitate towards nonfiction and business books and learning about how to make money. And fiction is really something that can, again, like place you directly in a person's world, in their mind, in their heart, so that you can like really, really, really deeply empathize.
And I think that's why a lot of women were, like, pushing their husbands to read, like, their favorite romantic-y books and things because it's not just, like, sadness, but it's also, like, romance and, like, sensual desire from a female
Yeah,
perspective.
I agree. I think the, like, concept of emotional foreplay is something that is so
Ooh.
prominent in these books that I don't feel like I personally could have put words to until I started reading these books, and, like, I was big into rom-coms and, like, romance movies and all of that stuff growing up, but I feel like reading it just puts such a different pin in it where you can, like, really, really understand across, 300 pages of yearning, like, what
Yeah.
emotional foreplay really is and, like, what really goes into, like, a day to day, like, I need to show up mentally and emotionally for this person to, like, get the physical benefit, and I feel like that's something that's also so hard to articulate in person,
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
in real life, so, again,
Absolutely.
subtle
I
plug.
thought the same thing. when I was reading this book that we read this week, I was like, if a man was speaking to me like this, I also would jump his bones every day. But
If a man was showing up in the way that this man was showing up, literally my clothes would evaporate in 2 seconds.
exactly.
Flat.
So that's what I'm gifting my boyfriend for Christmas is that book.
There you go. There you go. Thank the author in advance.
Speaking of this book that we've been reading this week, it is one of my saddest reads of 2025, and I think we should kind of get into our sad reads, but I want to start in like chronological order about how sad my year started.
Okay, kick us off.
At the beginning of this year, joined a new book club, and they immediately were like, we're reading The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. And I was like, I am already unwell. I've been avoiding that book for 5 years on purpose. And I was like, but I joined the book club. I got to do it. So I got into it. The Nightingale is about two sisters who are going through their own journey regarding World War II and the Nazi regime. And it is, as you would imagine, incredibly sad, incredibly devastating. But I think that when I'm reflecting back on The Nightingale, what Kristin Hannah provided to me was the portion I never even thought of was like how incredibly moved I was by her ability to put me in a perspective that I would never have gotten to myself. And I thought about that book for like a month after reading it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when you were about to start that book and I read it a few years ago, I was like, Godspeed. This book took me down in a way that, like, to your point, I was thinking about for a long time after, but I actually felt so deeply and I would like randomly tear up and randomly cry at like for days after.
Yes, same. And I was angry. I was sad. I was sick to my stomach. And like, the fact that a person can put pen to paper and make us feel all of those emotions, I mean, Nobel Peace Prize.
Truly, Kristin, you are amazing, but also, are you okay? I hope you went on vacation after you finished that book.
I have to say, I can only read like one Kristin Hannah a year because of how devastating it is.
I mean, after we read The Women last year, I also read The Great Alone, like back to back, basically. And I was like, I will never do that again, ever.
After we read The Women, we were like in public thanking war veterans. And that also says something about how good of a writer she is.
It does. It does. So I would consider myself a sad girl consumer throughout the year, like not just in the fall. I am in the winter. I am in the summer. I'm in it.
You are.
And so I kicked off January with an incredibly sad book. It was called Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. But I'm not even putting that on my top 3, which is kind of wild because Sally Rooney is like historically also similar to Kristin Hannah, where she writes these like very character-driven sad stories. But a couple of months later, I actually read this book called Martyr, and it was such a beautiful story about a man who is essentially grappling with his background. His family had to flee from Iran, him and his father, and when he was at a young age they moved to Indiana, which is wild because that's where Em and I are from, so I immediately was like, and he essentially grew up in a very, very kind of difficult scenario where he was grappling with a lot of things about himself, his sexuality, his kind of identification with his background. And he decides to write this book about all of the great martyrs of the world while he's kind of going through this personal journey. And I was just crying throughout the book because it was just, you're watching this person who is obviously kind of like towing this line between identities. And I think it probably resonated with me in particular because my family also immigrated to the US, you know, when my parents were at a young age, and like feel very, very similar about like having multiple backgrounds that you kind of have to grapple with identity wise. But just like seeing his process of knowing himself, going through extreme depression, losing people, losing sight of himself, all of the things. But then the end has this crazy twist where I actually was crying for like an hour straight. But that was one of those books that I walked away from what we said earlier, where I was obviously very moved.
I feel like
that book hit hard.
The sadness for you is definitely like you love to watch the humans overcome and like persevere. And that's very you coded too. Like you're a very persevering person through. And so I feel like you relate to that. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was an amazing book, though. It's very topical to, I think, just generally what's happening right now in
Yeah.
the US and all of the things. And I think it's a really beautiful book to put yourself in someone else's shoes and really understand like what someone in that scenario could be going through right now.
When you're talking about sexuality and identity, that does bring me to my next sad read. And
Yeah.
you're going to agree with this one too, I think. We read
Yep.
Atmosphere as part of the Book Bits Club, and it's about a woman astronaut who is not only struggling the fact that she's a female in 1970 NASA, but also struggling with the fact that she is unsure about her sexual identity.
Yeah.
And it made me feel grateful that I don't have to face either of those things, that we're born in a time where we are women and we can achieve the things we want to achieve. And also that I'm able to be like comfortable in my relationship and my friends and family are as well. So that was
Yeah.
like a sadness that made me feel grateful about what I have.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been in so few scenarios where I haven't been, truly accepted as I am. And
Hmm.
so to read about someone and multiple people who day in and day out truly had to completely pretend to be someone else to be accepted
Yeah.
in society was just gut-wrenching.
I cried like starting like 30% into the book. I texted Cassie and I was like, I am sobbing.
It was unbelievable. And then you mix it with like just the high stakes of them being in NASA and going into space and like potentially not coming home. And I
We
think that anyone would love this book. Like I have recommended it to so many people that read very differently than me, and they've all come back and been like, that was an unbelievable story.
I 100% agree. I have recommended it across genres. But
Yep.
also, I was going to say, remember we talked about recently how like authors don't let people die?
Yes.
Not Taylor Jenkins Reid. She
Taylor
will
Jenkins Reid will take some people out.
take pieces of your heart one by one until there's
Yeah.
literally one left.
Yeah. She will take you out and she will take the characters out. Okay. Everyone's going down. Well, I think I totally agreed with Atmosphere, but I'm going to add like a 2A.
Yeah.
I read this book that is called Go as a River, where it's based in Colorado in the 1940s, and it's about this girl who grows up in this time where there's a lot of cultural divide and racial divide between the folks that are living there, the Native Americans, and she ends up falling in love with a Native American boy and goes through a lot as a result of that. Everything else that I say after this will be a spoiler, but
I was going to say,
that-
why am I already crying?
it was such a beautiful book. And similarly, this author, Shelley Reid, has no problem taking out characters. Zero issue. No problem taking out the reader also. I was crying starting at like 50% of this book. And it actually is a really beautiful, happy ending. But that was another one where I was like, oh my God. I wouldn't recommend this to everyone, though. I would say if you really, really love a literary fiction book, like these character-driven stories, if you like some historical fiction, I think you would really like it. But yeah, I wouldn't say everyone would be into this book like I would say with Atmosphere.
Cassie is a very developed reader. In 2026, one of my reading goals is to get into more literary fiction that makes me feel these even bigger emotions, because right now I'm only at sadness. I'm only at sad.
We need to get the feelings wheel in front of you.
Yeah.
Well, I think our last book is probably the same.
Yeah.
Let it out. Let
The
it out.
Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. Guys, I actually am upset, aggravated, mad. I need to speak with Miss Yarros immediately. She has some explaining to do because it's actually disgusting, horrifying. Like, I am so upset still about how somebody can have so much pain to write on a page.
Truly, like, again, when I read these stories, I'm like, what headspace does this author have to be in to write this story? Like, Rebecca, are you okay? Like, what happened?
And I have been reflecting on this about the science that backs why we like these books. And I actually don't know if I'm in a space where I could even recommend this to people because I have such a pit in my stomach. And I don't know that science backs this book up for the reason why Rebecca wrote it. And that's why I need to hear it from herself because I don't understand.
See, I think that I am like ruthlessly recommending sad books to people. Like the second that I cry at a book, I'm like, read this book. And I don't know that there's any science behind that. I think I'm just a sadist.
Yeah. I think that if you're reading the last letter, you are just a sadist and you like
Yeah.
want to be absolutely destroyed and heartbroken because there is quite literally no other reason to pick this book up. Actually, that's a lie. The guy
That's a lie.
is incredibly hot and the romance is great. And like I said, I'm gonna gift it to my boyfriend so he knows how to do emotional foreplay. But other than that, disgusted.
I will say, Rebecca, you know how to write a man. Okay.
And
Between this and the Empyrean series, I'm like, I think I need to consume all of her works just so I can do some market research on her men.
I
honestly.
also think that maybe we need her husband to do a crash course for all men because she's
True.
clearly, like, they've been together since high school. Like, she's clearly writing some of them based off of him.
You're right. You're right. Mr. Rebecca Yarros, please come to the front.
Paige,
we need your masterclass.
Absolutely. And I think that this leads us to a pretty fun game we have lined up, Cass. We are going to play Sad Girl Confessionals. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. I actually don't know, but let's do it.
Here's the rules of the game. We're both going to share questions for each other about like sad things we've maybe done for like love or grief or family or whatever. And you have to explain why you did it, or you have to fess up another secret. That doesn't have to be sad, but it has to be nasty.
Okay.
I think you're going to say you've done this because you're a very music-oriented person. Have you ever made a mixtape for somebody?
Yes, but I never gave it to them.
Was it out of sadness?
It was actually not out of sadness. It was out of love. It was like...
Why'd you never give it to them then?
Because I just felt really embarrassed by it. Like, if I'm making a mixtape for someone, like, it's like, that's a level of vulnerability that I'm not often ready to get to.
Do you know where the tape is still?
Probably at the bottom of a landfill because it was literally a CD that I wrote on in Sharpie.
I have done this as well, but it was a CD written on with Sharpie and it was a breakup CD and it was all sad country songs.
I was literally going to ask, okay, I will name a name of one of my songs on there if you name a name of one of your songs.
Oh, I can't remember. It was like 16 and it was like whatever saddest country songs were on in like 2000.
Was it like My Wish by Rascal Flatts?
Yes, 100%. What was one of yours?
One of mine was At Last by Ella Fitzgerald. I was literally like 15.
It's like an emotion you had absolutely no idea you were capable of.
Zero. I'm like, Ella at this point, she's gone. But when she's doing this song, she's like probably 30.
Oh my God. I am dying.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go for a big kahuna here. Have you ever cried in the rain on purpose? Intentionally, it was raining and you went outside and cried.
I 100% have, and it's the most embarrassing thing I've ever been involved in. Like, you know when you're like in the shower or driving and you like have this overwhelming feeling of anxiety because this memory hits you? Like this time I stood in the rain on purpose because I thought that it was literally going to make the guy feel so emotional he was going to rescue me. Obviously, like the Notebook probably had just come out and that's why I did this. But I'm shaking with the anxiety that this memory gives me. I purposely stood in the rain in front of a man standing in a doorway begging me to come back inside because he was not going to go out into the rain to get me. Oh my God. Horrifying.
Oh, that's so good. I have never cried in the rain.
I don't see that for you. It's too dramatic.
No, it's not. It's not my level of dramatic flair. But I will trade a confessional that I do sometimes when I really want to cry. Will cry, like intentionally take a shower to do that.
What do you mean? You think the
it's
shower?
Like my own little rain shower.
I was gonna say, you think the shower is gonna make you cry, or you just need the safe space to cry?
I just like want to cry in the shower specifically. I don't want to cry out of the shower.
I
get
I'm like,
that. If I really want to let some cry out, I'm like, I'm going to take a shower.
That is so funny. Okay, I think this one's really going to get you. And I don't have one for this, but I feel like you have a movie that when you want to cry, you purposely put it on because you know it will make you sob.
Yeah, I do.
Like, is there a day where you're like, I'm sad today and I'm putting this on?
Yeah,
What
I
is
do.
it? What is it? What is it?
It is Beautiful Boy with Timothy Chalamet.
What about Timothy Chalamet makes you cry?
This movie is so fucking sad. Like, it actually, I know everything that happens in it. Obviously, I've watched it like 40 times, and it pulls the tears out of me every fucking time.
Oh
Every time.
God. Timmy C also makes you cry in The Little Women.
Yeah, he does. He's my perfect little sad boy. Okay. All right. What have you ever written like confessional letter, like confessing your feelings to someone? Did you give it to the person? And can you say one thing of what it said?
I will tell you. So, like, my first serious boyfriend ever, Cassie knows because we been friends that long. My high school boyfriend, he like literally cheated on me like every 3 weeks. I'm not sure like why I was so in love with him. And I wrote an entire journal of letters. It was like after a bad breakup and like we were like just working things out and I was literally 15 years old. I wrote a entire journal of letters and then I purposely on purpose cried over the paper so that the tears would stay in the paper and run the pen ink so that he knew I was crying when I was writing it.
I did not know this level of detail on this.
You know, some people might say, Emily, that's absolutely insane. You were 15. You have no idea. That man probably thought you were crazy. I just want you to know, I do think that years after I do this to people, they realize they liked it. Because you know what came back to me a year later? That journal, and it had letters in it from him. So don't count me out.
Oh my God. The full circle.
Yeah. So you might feel crazy, ladies, when you're doing it, but it will come back around. That one works. Standing in the rain doesn't work.
Girls, you have some tips here. Not
Yeah.
only is Mr. Rebecca Yarros teaching a masterclass, Emily is too.
I have done literally anything and everything embarrassing in the name of love because I'm a hopeless romantic.
I also love that neither of us like traded any confessionals. Like we're like, let me just tell it like it is.
You're our
Let
friends.
me tell you about my tear-stained journals.
I have one more for you, Cass. I feel like I could get you with this one.
Okay.
Have you ever purposely looked out a window, a car window, your home window, and like been like, I'm gonna cry while looking out of this window?
I shockingly have not.
Are you kidding me? I've also done this. And I did this at the age of like 26. I have to let you guys know. Like, I was old when I did this.
I genuinely don't think that I have ever done that. I'm trying to rack my brain for time.
Guys, I have purposely sat in front of a window when I knew the person was coming home so they would catch me crying in front of the window.
Oh God. I think the reason that I don't have as much dramatic flair with my crying is because I've always been such an easy crier. Like I will cry at the drop of a hat. I have shed all embarrassment around said crying. Like I will cry in front of literally anyone. I would cry in front of a stranger at this point because it's so native to me. And so I think I'm like maybe just so comfortable outwardly crying at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need someone to catch me in the act.
Your crying is like a superpower of emotion. Like you're so empathetic and you can connect with people. My crying is a weapon.
It is. You're ready for someone to come home, catch you crying, and then you just have them in your web from there. Okay, my last one is what is a scene or a book that you've read in public where it's made you actually cry in public?
I don't know. Because I'm like, I don't read that many sad books. So this one's tough for me. Do you have one off the top of your head?
Oh, yeah, always. When Dumbledore died in Harry Potter, I read that in English class in like freshman year of high school. And I remember reading it and just bursting into tears. Like my teacher, I'm actually sitting in the second row also of desks. Like I'm exposed. And my teacher was just about to get class started. And she looked at me and she was like, you need to go to the bathroom. Yeah, I do.
You need to go to the nurse's office,
I
honey.
literally had to excuse myself from English class because I was crying so hard at Dumbledore dying. I didn't know it was coming. I literally had no fucking clue, and it just hit.
I think reading for me is like a very like inside, like interpersonal hobby. So I do a lot of it in my home, and I do a
That's
lot
fair.
of my sobbing in the home. But I've done a lot of getting caught by my boyfriend in the home sobbing and him questioning if he's done something wrong or if I'm reading.
I mean, we can't blame him. We just heard that you maybe do this stuff on purpose.
It's so bad.
Oh my God.
I think
Okay,
I'm
well,
signing up for therapy after this episode.
I'll be with you. I'm there with you. I think we all are. Well, thank you all for joining us for Sad Girl Fall. If you have any of your similar confessionals, we would love to hear them. Clearly, we are an open book, and we would love anyone else who wants to share their similar trauma. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, please feel free to like, comment, rate, review. All of those things help us out. And also give us a follow on Instagram, where we're doing some fun stuff with our BookTok tested and probably crying on camera.
So after you watch this episode, come back Monday morning for BookTok tested on our Instagram, because we're going to be talking about our next book that we're covering on the podcast.
That's right, which I believe is going to be a thriller.
A thriller. Is it a thriller or a suspense?
I actually don't know.
I don't know
I
either.
feel like anything that's mildly suspenseful, I think, as a thriller, because I'm just a scaredy cat.
So stay tuned for that.
All right. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Grab your blankets, grab your book boyfriends, and we'll see you then.
See ya.